what's going on YouTube? It's your girl Mercedes. Mercedes gang. You feel me? The gang, because we don't come with no price tag, period. Anyways, y'all, I'm back with another video, Love, Live, Serve, you feel me? With Astrology Isn't Real / Change My Mind. Let me know in the comment section what's y'all zodiac sign. I mean, shoot, back then, I was kind of into it, but like now that I gotten older, I ain't had no type of time to even focus on astrology, so I'm not too much of a big believer either. But we're gonna see what these people gotta say. Like I said, leave y'all a little zodiac sign in the comment section below, and let me know what y'all think. Do y'all believe in this or not? Let's get into it.
Out encountering people who believe in astrology. So we went out on the street, we got the sign that says astrology is bullshit, change my mind, and we had some willing participants talk to me, and we had a very respectful discussion. No name calling, everyone was very respectful, and it made for a great video. So make sure you guys leave a comment on this video. I want to know your guys' thoughts on astrology. Let me know what you think about the discussions and the points that...
I mean, so far that I know of with astrology, like, I'm cool with a lot of the, like, fire signs, you know what I'm saying? Especially, like, Sagittarius is, like, I'm hella cool with them. I'm real close with them, too. Like, I don't know what it is. It seems like Sagittarius is fuck with me once they get to know me on a little personal level. So, I don't know. My gang is fire sign. I'm cool with them. So, I ain't gonna tell nobody my zodiac sign. If you know, you know.
that people bring up. It was a fun video, and also let me know what topics we should do for the next Change My Mind segment. Appreciate it. Enjoy.
Oh God.
This should be good.
So you agree that astrology is bullshit? Michelle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Ryan.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
So you saw our sign.
Yes.
You disagree?
I do.
You saw the sign here, and what do you think about it?
I think astrology is 100% real, and people that claim that it's not real, they are delusional.
Strong claim. So my sign says astrology's bullshit. You disagree with that?
Completely.
Why?
I mean, do you have all day?
I'm an astrological girly, so
Period.
yes.
I agree with what you said. I agree with everything. I think that there are 4 fundamental forces in the universe: gravitational, electrostatics, weak and strong force. And the only one that really matters at this scale, when we're talking about things of astrology and things of planets, would be things like, well, probably gravitational force. And I see it as, the fact of the matter is that if you look at the formula of, which is G m1 m2 over r squared, it's more likely that the person who gave birth to you would have a bigger...
What? I'm making a video. What? Could have just texted me, bro. No. Sorry, y'all.
effect on you or on your body when you were born regarding a gravitational concept than the star would, because it's so far away.
I looked it up, and the closest star to us, to Earth, is 4.24 light years away, and 1 light year is 5.88 trillion miles. Stars and constellations are sometimes thousands of light years apart,
Yeah.
which makes their connection to one another effectively arbitrary and doesn't really hold much meaning. Yet people claim, well, because of this Orion constellation, I'm a risk taker. Whereas I don't think that the stars that are trillions of miles away.
Let's rewind
I'm a
that
risk
real quick,
taker.
because what the fuck was this? Ain't no way, is that Noah? Mr. Take that risk?
Whereas I don't think that the stars that are trillions of
Times were
miles
good back
away
then.
care whether or not you're a risk taker. So can you tell me why you disagree? Because I think it's complete bullshit and made up and fake. Why do you disagree with that?
Well, for that case, some people just have the character traits of their birthday that just happen to fit into like whatever their zodiac sign is.
I think that a lot of the time when I see criticisms put against astrology, it is these kind of broad, like, I mean, they're almost doing exactly what they're accusing astrology of doing. They're kind of starting with a certain assumption. A lot of the time it's an assumption about how astrology works. Then they're kind of working backwards and saying, and I don't believe this. And it's a bit of a straw man. It's kind of begging the question. And first off, like, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about other people. And a lot of the time I'm talking about other people with like a certain level of predictive, like, success, at least, you know, personal predictive success. It's not a study, it's not the same thing, and I, you know, wouldn't say it's the same thing. You know, it's not like I look to astrology like this is the guide. but there's certain traits where it's like, I've noticed this trait in so many people who are, Gemini. We'll use that example. And then you meet someone and they exhibit that, and you're like, this person's a Gemini, and then they are.
No, that is completely fake, because if you see like I'm a Cancer, so I'm stubborn, that's actually false, because that's actually only your sun sign. We have a moon sign.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The whole birth chart thing. I remember a friend did this on me. She was like, you have Sagittarius this and Aries that and da 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 da. I'm like, hey, I don't understand what this shit even means, bro. Explain. Like, get into detail, because this doesn't make any sense to me. This whole, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Or not a moon sign, a Venus sign, Mars sign, a rising sign, Jupiter,
She told me
Aquarius,
all that.
and like Neptune and all that shit.
Okay.
And within all those different signs, our birth chart is based off of different houses, which is ruled by different signs, and we're born at like different degrees. So even though you think that you're a Cancer, so you're automatically stubborn, if you're just basing that off your sun sign, that's completely false, because you have to look at your entire chart as a whole.
Why even group things into those 12 sections? If being a Cancer doesn't necessarily mean that you're stubborn, we're just using that example. If it doesn't necessarily mean that, why even put someone in the grouping of Cancer anyway? For example, Noah and I are both Geminis, so...
Oh, wait. We're actually both Virgos. We wanted to see if that would change her perspective on us if we lied. My mom was a Virgo. She a Virgo. They always talking Virgo gang. Yeah. They a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
But we're very different.
All of us have our own individual birth chart, so just because we are both Gemini suns, we could have different planets and different degrees that essentially influence the way we are. And in astrology, although you guys may be Geminis and you act differently, that may be because, like, based off the different influences in your chart, you may be like honing into one specific like characteristic of that sign.
First of all, the first time we spoke,
I mean,
did I?
my homegirl kind of explained it in that format, and it somewhat made sense, but it it's gonna take a lot of studies, a lot of time for me to understand this, because
Ask you, by any chance, are you a Virgo?
You did ask that question.
And
Oh.
I didn't know that.
wow.
So, I mean, there's just certain characteristics and things that are undeniable.
Damn,
And-
she literally guessed his sign. Oh my gosh. I remember me and some coworkers were doing that. We were just bored or whatever, and one of my coworkers was like, hey, let's just start guessing people's signs. And there was this one particular person, I'm like, this person kind of reminds me a little bit of my, like, my dad a little bit. And I guess this person's sign right. And they were like, how did you know that? And I'm like, I didn't. For real, I didn't.
Anytime I have someone tell me they don't believe it and I start talking to them about it or
Yeah.
explaining things, they're like, all right, like, I don't want to admit it, but like all the things you're saying are right. So
Does that happen every time? Like every time you...
Not everything. That's a main reason why I'm not really too much of a firm believer. I only know the signs because my mama used to just talk about it all the time. But like, yeah.
You meet someone, you're able to immediately tell what they
no,
are.
not every time, but sometimes it's like glaringly obvious.
I would start believing you if you could pinpoint, oh, yep, you're this, you're this. Then I'd be like, oh,
Oh
there
yeah,
might be something to
I
it.
probably could.
What's Noah?
I don't know. I spent 5 minutes with him.
Well, if it was, surely, you heard him speak a little bit.
I feel like you gotta have.
But I know you're not gonna get it.
At least a good 5-minute conversation before you could tell what certain sign somebody is.
Yeah, because I chalk it up to you had a lucky guess with me.
Out of 12 signs, I had a lucky guess.
Because I know you're not gonna get his.
How do you know?
Because the luck, the chances of you getting both right, it's just not gonna happen.
I might guess like the right element though, because he's like chill, so he's probably like an earth sign.
Okay, what are the earth signs? Which ones are those?
Taurus, maybe Capricorn. Virgo might be an earth sign. And Leo maybe? No. Is Leo fire? I don't know. Not an astrologer.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense anyway, but
In this case, what's your zodiac sign? Or when's your birthday?
the only thing I know about my sign is that I'm a Gemini.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you're able to, what that means necessarily or what.
That makes sense.
Let's assume that you had some sort of terminal illness, like something really bad that was really serious, maybe a cancer of some sort, tumor.
Right.
And the doctor said, hey, we can give you this medicine, but every time we've used it on someone, it fails. It has never worked ever before in the history of us testing it. Is that the medicine that you would like to take to try to help your illness?
Well,
Honestly, I think,
Or would you look for alternatives?
I mean, I feel like there's no right answer. Like, yes, I would probably take the medicine, but if it didn't work, I feel like it's just the universe's plan, and if I meant to go, then
Then it was your time.
I should just stop fighting it.
Oh, facts. Would you take that, or would you look for different
I
alternatives?
would look for a different alternative, mainly just because if it's not working for other people, then why do you want to, you know?
Exactly. I think that's the right answer. And that is effectively what astrology is.
Right.
Astrology is a pseudoscience, as you know. Every time there's been astrologers that tried to guess people's signs and birth charts, whatever,
Yeah.
they fail every time, and they don't have more success than someone who doesn't believe in it. What's the astrology belief? Like, is it the stars and planets sort of affect someone's personality, or what is it? Can you describe
I guess it's like the time you were born at and like the stars that like connect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was like the day you were born or the time. I was born right at midnight, like right on the dot. I was actually supposed to be born on the 8th, but I was ended up born on the 9th. So it's like, I don't know.
To your like sign in a way.
Okay.
Because I guess other factors that play into it are like your like rising, your sun, your moon, all of that. So
Okay.
just connect to each other depending on your time.
Let's say there's a baby in the womb.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have my hand represent like the mother's belly or the womb, whatever. And the baby's inside. You're saying that astrology works when it's the time you're born, correct? It's the time the baby's out.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending on like the stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do the planets or stars know when the baby passes from inside the womb to outside? And also, I'll add to that, at what point, assuming it's like magical fairy dust that the planets have, when do they officially start acting on the baby? Because you see what I'm saying? What's the difference between a fully developed baby that's in the womb versus that's out? It's just one layer of flesh or skin.
Right.
So it's like, I make the argument that your DNA, your brain cells, your genetics, those are established long before you pass from one side of the womb to the other. Wouldn't the time you're conceived have more of an effect on, let's say, your personality or your love life than the exact moment you were born? Because to me, I feel like that's arbitrary.
Right.
I disagree based off like DNA and everything, because I actually have a twin sister, and we
Oh, great.
we have the same DNA, but we are completely different, and we have like different birth charts because we were born at different times. So because of that, I would say that DNA doesn't affect everything. It's basically like you have to look more on like the spiritual side of things. You're trying to like intellectualize and science it, I guess, but spiritually, like, we become like different once we like leave like the womb and stuff. So like,
Okay.
yeah.
So you have a twin. Okay, so what about people that are born at the exact same time? Whatever, it's Tuesday, whatever, the 24th, whatever. Two people born at the exact same time, the sun's in the same spot. Why do they not have the same personality? Or the same traits, character traits?
Well, just because somebody has the exact same birth chart as somebody else doesn't mean they're gonna act the exact same. Like,
But isn't that what the whole premise of astrology is that...
well, that is the exact point, but the point is we may take on certain characteristics of our birth chart more than others.
They might lean into the
Okay.
trait harder than the other person. That seems like one layer of skin and is the difference between being born and unborn.
Well, that's not really what astrology is. It's not dictating anything, but it's the influence of it, you know? It's recognizing how things that are going on in a bigger picture, how that is affecting us like on Earth. And I think even if you aren't finding like the signs that you're looking for behind it, it's something that's worth being studied, and it's something that definitely has substance behind it, you know?
Do you know when it starts working? Like when...
I like her. I definitely like her response for sure. She seemed really cool, calm, collected, and like focused, and completely had like the right answer for that.
the magical things start working on the baby?
No, not necessarily. I don't know that part. But I feel like you're looking more in like the science, like
The science
yeah,
of it.
scientific.
That makes sense. So you think it's more of like is it like a faith-based thing? Like you just have to believe it just cause?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it just because it's fun, not just because I'm like, oh my god, I'm sticking to that like belief. I just think it's fun, like seeing how like some people do fit into the characteristics of it. But I see what.
Now, don't get me wrong. I've met a couple of people that have told me they sign, and you know, like there definitely was some alike traits for sure, but I'm not gonna say all the way. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
what you mean, like, oh yeah, this person, like, they might say something about this, but it's not, doesn't necessarily fit to that. I just think it's fun to just learn about.
Have you ever heard of the Barnum effect?
No.
I wanted to read something for you. It's like a quick one, it's one sentence.
Okay.
I want to see what your thoughts on it are.
Okay.
I think I screenshotted it. It says the Barnum effect, and I can let you look at it here, is a cognitive bias that describes the tendency to accept personality descriptions as if they apply to us, even though they are vague.
Vague.
So I think what's happening in astrology is people see you're a hard worker or you're stubborn or whatever. And then people attribute that to, oh my God, I am stubborn. When in actuality, being stubborn is an extremely popular and vague trait that most people have.
Yeah.
You would agree with that?
Yeah,
Right?
I would agree.
So do you think that you're suffering from the Barnum effect? Where you see it as a description of what your personality is, and then you simply take the parts that you like and apply it to yourself, like, oh, that is me. I am caring. Aren't those just broad, sweeping generalizations that most people can relate to? And they just pick and choose the ones that they don't. Oh, my sign today says I'm going through something difficult, but with perseverance, I can.
Yeah, well, that's a generalization, but I'm saying if you actually sat down with an astrologer and they did your birth chart, like, or even the basics, like your sun sign, which is, we know, a Virgo, your moon and your rising, that tells you more specifically. And like, I've hardly ever sat down with someone and them not agreed with everything that it described about them, because some of it is like your sun sign is like how you are, how you appear to the world, and your rising sign is, I don't know, I might get them mixed up, but like your sun, moon, and rising all represent different things, like the face you portray to the world versus who you are, who you know yourself to be versus your personality traits.
Did you? Oh,
Okay.
Random interjection
Yeah, I'm gonna let him talk because in a way, it's like I kind of understood, but I didn't.
here. When she said that, you know when you're in the shower and it's like after an argument and you think of like a good comeback after the fact, you're like, damn, if only I would have said that when I was there, I would have cooked. This is our first time doing a video like this, so I wasn't 360% equipped for every single point, but I always hear that from people when it's like, oh no, your moon and your sun, it's how you're perceived and not how you actually are. But then I was like, doesn't every single person that's ever met you perceive you in a completely different way? Like to some people, I'm perceived as cool, funny, down to earth, chill, whatever, the best guy ever. And to other people, I'm a supervillain who's narcissistic and evil and hates them. And you're telling me Saturn is able to care about how you come across? Does that make any sense to anybody? Humans are so
No, for real.
complex. So to be able to pinpoint them as, oh, you're perceived in this way. You're perceived as loving. You're perceived as mean. You're perceived different to every single person. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your best friend, a stranger on the street. And you're telling me the constellations know how you're perceived?
Because
Come
I
on,
don't
bro.
care
That's not
about ads if you ain't feeding me.
80 cents. Okay, I'm gonna keep playing. Did you mentioned you had an astrologer, or is there someone that you speak to about those things?
I have an astrologer.
Holy
Wow.
shit. I think those people are con men. More specific.
If anything, I low-key think he should do that for a video. Like, actually go talk to a real astrologer and just see what she has to say. Just like, content. Why not?
Really con women, because it's mostly women that are,
There's both.
but it's mostly
There's
women.
more women because I think women are just more open towards like,
I have met men that do believe in this whole astrology thing. I have met quite a couple of men that actually believe in this stuff.
woo-woo things, and
That's it, it's woo-woo.
well, yes, that is how you would describe it. That doesn't discredit it.
Anything described as woo-woo, I don't think is very...
Okay, new age.
New age, okay.
Put it this way, she has told me specific dates. She's told me like what was happening in 2011, at this point in your life, like something really monumental with your family life or something, and I've looked back and it's been on the mark. She told me, in fact, this month, she was like, I want to talk to you at the end of May. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to be completely different in your life. And I was like, okay,
And this is one of them.
for sure.
So she was right.
Random.
And look, we actually had a girl who was a medium
Yeah, that's completely different.
that we spoke to, who was saying some crazy shit that I was like, okay, that's, I don't know how you
Hey,
know
Loki. Hey, I'm gonna have to watch that one. I ain't gonna lie.
that
That's a
information.
psychic.
Yeah, psychic, whatever.
Yeah, and I also believe that there's people who have gifts.
That I'm more,
Wow.
that's a whole other conversation, which I actually am more open to, because we actually have footage that we caught a voice on camera before that was like a disembodied voice. So that's why
And interference.
I believe more stuff like that. But the astrology thing,
Bro,
you
come
know,
on, you light skinned. You telling me you heard a voice in the house, clear and vivid, by the way, and I'm sorry, I would have left. I would have been gone, moved out, everything. I hope he did move out because no.
Goes back to like ancient civilizations.
Just because it's old doesn't mean that it's facts.
Correct.
Slavery is old.
Correct.
On everyone I've
Okay.
talked to who's in astrology, they're kind of playing a different
You're
game.
right.
Like, I don't think that they're really playing the science game. They're not really playing the empirical causality game. Yeah, we can agree on that. Sometimes it's frustrating. But I think the other thing is, my perspective, when I've adopted certain concepts from astrology and paid attention, just kind of like a light thing, you start to notice patterns. Like, I think when you approach it more affirmatively rather than with this sort of skepticism of like, I need to prove this wrong. Either it's right or it's wrong. I think that you start to see, at the very least, there's a reason for it. And I think what I would argue, astrology is very old. And I think that the fact that it creates those patterns points to some sort of underlying consistency. Now, whether that's the stars themselves, whatever it might be, there's all sorts of other potential explanations, but I think that's kind of what I would argue.
I feel like some people, like, they'll read like what their zodiac sign is, and they'll be like, oh, I should be this, and it just gets into your head, and you're kind of like, okay, now.
Nah. If I read up on my sign and it says this, this, and this, it's this, and this, and this. Like, I'm not gonna pick and choose what no.
Oh, maybe I am this without realizing.
And then they start acting
Yeah, they
on
start acting like it, yeah.
Who do you think believes in astrology more often, men or women?
I feel like women. I feel like every single guy I've ever met and I've brought it up, they just get so scared. They're like, why are you talking about this?
Yeah, me too. I ain't gonna lie. Anytime someone brings up astrology, I'm like, ooh, check, please.
And why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like it's just like a women culture, I guess, in a way. Right?
Because surely if it was real,
Yeah.
wouldn't there be a decent amount of men that believe in it? Who believes in astrology more often, men or women?
Women do, but I think that's because women are more connected with like our spiritual side, and we are more in tune with like our emotions compared to men.
What about the people who say that it's because
I ain't gonna say she ain't wrong. Like I said, I've met quite a couple of men that actually somewhat do believe in this stuff, I could agree. Yeah, more women believe in it than men, to be honest.
women want to women use it a lot in relationships? Would you agree with that? That
Oh, no.
a girl
What
might
the
say,
fuck?
"Oh, we didn't work out because he's a Virgo, and that's why it didn't work out." Have you heard things like that happen before?
Yeah, I have. I think it's just because like if somebody's like a Virgo and then another person's like an Aquarius, like they're not going to be compatible only because they take on certain traits of those signs that aren't like quote unquote like compatible with each other.
And if that was the case, wouldn't you see in divorce statistics or marriage statistics that the people that stay together longer are these
Right,
compatible
these
signs,
two-
and the people that
right.
get divorced are the non-compatible signs? Surely you would see that pattern, right? If it was real, like compatibility based on signs.
You're just looking at sun signs. If you
I was gonna say they actually did do like research and marriage and stuff on that type of shit. Only because I remember like a teacher pulled it up, and what I saw was kind of wild, to be honest.
want to look at relationship compatibility, you have to look at the compatibility between the two people's moon signs and Venus signs, because the moon controls our emotions and Venus is the planet of love. So you have to look at the compatibility of those two planets and not just the sun sign, because if you're looking at just the sun sign, that tells you nothing about how the person is actually on the inside.
I mean, I know a lot of guys that are into it as well. I think it's like becoming more of a popular thing now where people are embracing it more. I mean, again, I just think women are more open to those types of things. Like men like factual, like where's the
Yeah.
evidence? How can you back it up?
Right.
Isn't that
And
probably
like,
a good way to think, though?
maybe, but like,
I mean, it's kind of the same thing with me. It's like I don't believe it till I see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm the same way until I see some evidence or like some da 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 da. Then it's like, I'm there, but I'm not.
what's wrong with like dreaming?
Ain't nothing wrong with dreaming. I'm a dreamer, but I think when there's as much evidence for astrology as there is for leprechauns, which is a fact.
No,
Oh my gosh.
I disagree.
Um,
I think we need to have your chart done.
Who believes in astrology more, men or women?
I think that
in your experience?
well, men are less open to the idea of astrology.
You're saying that men are less likely to believe in astrology.
I just think they're less open,
They're less open to it.
yeah, to the idea. And I also think an environment like this pushes them away from that fact. You know, I think astrology, topics like astrology, which obviously like a lot of people don't believe in, like you guys don't believe in, make people really ashamed. Like I'm interested in a lot of, like there's something called the Wiccan religion, and it's like witchcraft, and I'm not practicing witchcraft, but I think it's really interesting. But that's like something that I wouldn't go out and express to people because I feel like they're gonna put me down for it. And so I think it's not that women are just more interested in it. I just don't think men are really given the opportunity to be allowed to be interested in this subject.
So you agree that astrology is bullshit?
I think she's like correct on that answer for sure. I don't think men exactly have like the space and opportunity to be able to really get the chance to talk about that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like mostly for people just to like have something to talk about at parties and stuff. I don't think there's like obviously like planetary energies or anything. I think my favorite observation about astrology is like I have a lot of like great friends who are very progressive people, very about the human individual. Race is bullshit, class is bullshit, gender is fake, which is all great. But then they'll turn around and say, oh, but like Scorpios are all the same. You know what I mean? So like,
Hey, yo.
like that. It's just like, yeah.
That is probably the one sign I can't get along with. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've ran into a couple Scorpios, you know what I mean? That was not the best experience. I was even with a Scorpio at one point. I'm sorry, it's a no-go for me. Very nice people, but I'm good. Respectfully. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, it's just like it's just how humans think, I think. So I just think it's all funny.
They are cool though. They're not,
even the concept of like racism, which
it's like if one was actually nice to me, because for some reason like they're always so mean. I'm like, oh my god. And it's like if one was actually like really nice to me, then like I'd be cool. I wouldn't have no issues with a Scorpio for sure, because they are cool as fuck. It's just like I can't get along with them for some reason.
both of us are very against racism, and I would argue that most people don't like racism. However, the concept of astrology, it's spaceism. You can call it space racism, you can call it whatever. It's the same concept of discriminating against someone simply because of something that they can't control of how they were born.
Oh man, yeah. Girls be like, "What's your sign?" "Oh, I'm a Taurus." "Oh, nope. Nope." I'm like, wait, you ain't even giving a man a chance. Hold on. How you?
It comes to your charts or whatever. Do you ever relate it to your dating life? Do you ever think like, oh, well, he was a Gemini, so.
Yeah.
Okay, you do that. Your friend can attest to that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes,
yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think that certain.
I think the only signs that I ain't really like date or even messed with is probably earth signs. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
People use astrology to justify their shitty behavior, their lack of morals, their bad decisions, and even their bad choice of partner. It's a lot easier to say, well, he didn't work out because he's a Virgo, as opposed to, I picked a guy that's an asshole that doesn't even like me that much, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what people do, is they externalize the accountability.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say, yeah, I messed up. I chose the wrong person.
Yeah, and I feel like that also happens, like, let's say, hypothetically, you date a Virgo, like how you mentioned, but then you hate Virgos for the rest of your life, just because of that Virgo. Yeah, that happens, like, to people.
Do you base your life decisions off of
No.
things like that?
No.
Why not, though? If it's real, if it's truly real.
Because I believe I'm in charge of my own destiny, but I think you can use it as a tool.
Do you use it in your life at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Well, like one thing.
Dating, like, are you like, oh.
One thing that's really prominent, and I think is a good example, is like the moon. Like the way the moon has phases and how close it is to us at certain times, like definitely affects not only nature but people as well. Like one thing that I wouldn't say concretely believe in, I'm like, this is a fact, but something that I do think plays a role in my life is like the way that the moon affects the tide. I think it definitely, especially for people who have like menstrual cycles, it's kind of like the same thing where it's gonna affect you during that time.
You've noticed that?
Yeah, and this is like a monthly thing. Well, obviously, like when you're on your menstrual cycle, you know, it brings a lot of emotions out of you. And in the same way that like the moon pulls the tide.
Are you willing to accept that what you're believing is just a lie? And it's just not true, and you're just doing it for fun?
I mean, if that was the truth, then yeah, I would accept it. But I just do it for fun, like how I mentioned earlier.
There's never a chance that you'll drop it and be like, you know what, this isn't good for me.
Once I have scientific evidence, maybe.
Man, fuck that. I done dropped that bitch a long time ago. I ain't gonna lie. Once high school was over, I was over that shit. I said, yeah, that's it. It was all fun and giggles. Not anymore.
Even though there's no scientific evidence to prove it, you want to see scientific evidence that disproves it.
Yeah, to not believe in it.
Do you think there's a chance you could be wrong about it? And that the moon and stars have nothing to do with our personalities?
No, I wholeheartedly believe it. I mean, I believe there could be maybe a 1% chance, but like, I believe it's real.
I'm not going to commit to astrology is real. It's real. It's literally all true. It is something I'm very interested in. I think that when you look at the history of astrology and you look at the history of the assumptions going into astrology, the ontological commitments, I'll just throw that word out, like the commitments to what constitutes reality and how reality functions are kind of different. And on one hand, you could say, well, they're wrong. We've, developed our science. We understand how the world works. But on the other hand, I think it's worth looking at, like, well, what were they assuming? And I think one of the things that they were assuming was that the events that happen kind of have an inbuilt, like, correspondence.
The scientific proof of that it's not real is there's a concept called precession, which is basically the Earth, as you know, it's got like an axis and it's tilted slightly.
Yeah.
And this axis itself wobbles a little bit, which means the position that we see the stars at changes over hundreds of years, thousands of years. When astrology was established, some people say it's 2,000 years ago, some say it's, a little bit less, 1,000 or whatever, but let's use 2,000 years. At the time that the chart was established, that was 2,000 years ago. Since then, the Earth has moved on its axis because of precession, and now the stars aren't in the same place that they were initially, yet we still follow the same chart, which immediately debunks the whole thing. There's 12 of them, right? There's 12 signs?
Yes.
Can you explain to me this rising, like the rising moon thing? What is all that?
So your sun is what you're born with, or like depending on like, what time you were born at and so on. That's your rising. Your moon is what makes you like your emotions in a way, like more emotional factors, and then rising is what people perceive you as. If they don't know you, you're like, oh, you give me the vibe that you might be this, but I don't know you, so.
Okay.
Every day it's always, oh, you're that one mysterious girl. You don't talk. You just observe. Yeah, motherfucker. Most of the people like I meet, usually that's their perspective on me. Either I'm just super chill and calm, or just super mysterious and they're trying to figure me out, or simply just, the fact that a bitch don't like me because I don't want to participate with everybody else. So that I've been told that like multiple times.
Wouldn't you argue that humans are complex and there's more than 12 types of people?
Yeah, I see that.
Do the astrological signs and stars and planets, do they affect animals? Do they affect the animal's personality, or is it just humans, or can you tell me anything about that?
Well, honestly, they probably do, because us as humans, we're not just our physical bodies, we also have like a spiritual side of us, and like everything in the universe is energy. So like I think we are kind of interconnected with the universe, and in that sense the stars and the way they align like would affect our personality. Even
though it's 4.24 light years away, it still is able to travel that distance to affect us.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, because the universe was started as one little big giant ball, and then it started expanding.
Oh, so great. Here we go with this. You know what? I'm not even going to get into that. All I'm going to say is that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to end it there. We ain't even going to talk about it.
Obviously, everything is clearly like interconnected.
So after our conversation,
yeah,
did I sway you at all, or are you still the exact same? You got the same perspective?
Well, I see your scientific points, but like I mentioned, I do see the more like scientific side.
I ain't gonna lie, they used to talk about that stuff at this church camp, the little Big Bang Theory. I would fall asleep in that church. I ain't gonna lie. Cause it's just like, nah, you spitting bullshit to me now.
I also have my little beliefs, cause like I put it into what is it called?
Perspective.
Perspective sometimes, but not like always. But it's just something that I like to do because it's for fun, like how we talked about.
Do you think it would be, I think this is called cognitive dissonance, when there's a belief that you hold near and dear to your head, and then there's an outside source or something happens where it's challenged, your belief gets challenged, and it basically challenges your entire worldview.
Yeah.
So to give up the belief in astrology, you'd be giving up, like, your worldview, which is too mentally painful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it'd be easier just to simply say, well, I'll just keep believing in it. Do you think that could be happening to you right now? Where
Yeah,
you're like, I just refuse to give it up.
In my perspective, I think I don't want to like give it up just because I grew up with it. Like, if you talk to my mom, she'll like talk about it too for hours. So it's just kind of something I just grew up with, like hearing about, talking about. So in a way, that's why I'm like, okay, I don't want to give it up because like
It's something that's comforting and something that's fun to partake in.
It's just fun to partake in if like people like it, because there's people who won't like it and will disagree.
That's it. That's a
oh my gosh, it's funny because she is 100% right. She's right. You know, there's people that's gonna like it, people that don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember some people were asking me my sign, and I refused to answer. And one person actually got a little upset that I wouldn't answer, and I'm like, why does it even matter at this point? Why does it matter?
We're here doing today, having civil conversations about it.
It's also a very good way to help people feel not as alone in their struggles. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing.
We can agree on that. I think it is an emotion-based thing where people are looking for comfort or they're looking for reason to their life.
That part I could definitely agree.
However, I do think people do tend to abuse it. I'm a truth seeker. I don't care about being right necessarily. I just want the truth.
No one's saying go live your life by this. Again, like you have free will.
So with that logic, why even care about it at all?
Because sometimes you're just like, I need a little guidance, or like, I'm impatient. Like.
Oh, that is funny. Okay, guys. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm gonna leave the original video in the link in the bio and everything. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your bell notifications, all that jazz. If you want to show some love, show some love. You don't want to, it's all good. Sadie's gang ain't gonna be butthurt. You feel me? And I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Deuces.